entered, and then after that, at 10:30, we have the Coastal Men's solo first heat. Great day of racing. We have out there in the boat commentating for you later on James Scott and Peter O'Hanlon, and here on the beach it's my dear colleague Ignacio Silva. My name is Sebastian Franke, and we have the pleasure and honor to bring the race action to you.
Thank you, Christopher. Olá, bem-vindos então a este Campeonato do Mundo de Remo de Mar, quase prontíssimos para darmos início. Podem assistir ao vivo em worldrowing.com. Toda a emoção. Vamos ter dois comentadores na água, mais eu e o Christopher aqui na torre para vos dar a maior informação possível desta competição. Vamos começar com 2 hits nos doubles masculinos. Primeiro com 17 embarcações e o outro com 15. Este hit número 2.
Yeah, so on mute, okay?
Yeah, so 2 balls are still remaining on the mast, so that means less than 2 minutes to the first start. That's the typical coastal rowing thing, and you can see on your screen the boats out there assembled, ready to go along the start line on the water. We have an on-water start today and a beach finish, which is great. We will see the athletes again, the runner running through this arch that you might have watched during the World Rowing Beach Final. Let's go for the crews. We have the crew from Spain, Spain 5, de Marclot de Lilo e Capello.
The second one, it's Spain 6, Mediterráneo de Málaga, Juan Lara y Mario Manuel Diaz.
Then we have Real Club Náutico Gandia, Lucas Catalabajan and Sergei Makalovs.
Also from Spain, the Real Club Náutico de Torrevieja, Miguel Moreno y Miguel Ondeniente.
That's Spain 8. And France 5, we have from Chambéry, Vincent Cavard and Ivan Beauvais.
Also from France, France number 6, Saint-Malo, Clément Thomas et Yannick Baudelot.
And we will tell you the rest of the crews in a short moment. We are already close to the start. So that was the first start of the 2021 World Rowing Coastal Championships in Oeiras, Portugal. And thank you so much for all the help from the volunteers. The organizing committee has done a great job setting up this great venue, and the crews are underway. Let me give you more of the crews here in the race. Great Britain 5, we have Bexel and Deal Rowing Club. We have Germany 5 from Ruder Club Alemannia from Hamburg. Another German boat also from Alemannia is Germany 6. Then we have Arklow Rowing Club, Ireland 5. So you will notice later on in the transmission, the boats have these country codes with the boat number on their bow. We have Italy 6, Santo Stefano al Mare. We have Italy 7, Misto San Pier d'Arena Murcarolo. Then we have Portugal 5.
Nova Rowing. E depois com o Portugal número 6, o número Port 6, é o Vila Condense, Port número 7, o Barreirense, no número 8 é o Vila Condense, e no número 1, aliás, Vila Condense, número 8 é o Ferroviário. São estas as equipas que alinham por Portugal.
And yeah, we have a whole host of Portuguese crew here, Portugal 6, 7, 8 and 9. So altogether 17 crews in this first race of the 2021 World Rowing Coastal Championships, and this is the first moment that we want to try and get contact with our great commentators on to James Scott and Peter O'Hanlon. Peter, what's the situation like out there on the boat?
A very clean start here, Sebastian. We saw quite a quick start. France 5, which is Chambéry Club Nautique, consisting of Vincent Cavard and Ivan Beauvais, making a really rapid start and not leaving behind on the far side of the start line, where we had Saint-Malo, Clément Thomas and Yannick Baudelot. Yannick Baudelot and Thomas going off at 40 strokes a minute, and their French colleagues off at 34. Neither of these two boats leaving behind Bexhill and Deal Rowing Club, Great Britain 5, Mark Mitchell and William Dennis. Those three were the first out, and they seem to still be holding the front of the field heading up towards the first buoy. Bearing in mind, it's a 1K stretch out to the first buoy. We expect to see this field really spread out and string out through this first 1,000 meter push to that buoy. But as they start to spread out, I'm joined here on the boat by James Scott. James, what fantastic conditions we've got here out on the water.
We do really have fantastic conditions today for coastal rowing. We've got a gentle breeze that they're just rowing across now, and a swell coming in from the northwest that on this leg down to the first turning mark is going to keep things interesting because they're side onto it. But as soon as they're round this mark, it's going to be fairly downwind and hopefully just really fast, great coastal rowing conditions to the next turning mark.
So exciting to see them tackling these choppy waters now. They were started off in a relatively sheltered part of the bay here in Oeiras, in the shadow of the Fort de São Julio de Barra. Beautiful conditions here. The sun's shining, 21 degrees-ish, as things start to really hot up at the front of the race now, though. So it's still France 5, France 6, and Great Britain leading towards this first turning buoy. We're going to see how they handle this buoy here now and make their way towards the second buoy, which is a 1.1k stretch. Out in front, though, is France 5 ahead of France 6, and then Great Britain. So Chambéry leading Saint-Malo, leading Bexhill. They're going. Clean corner for the first three boats as they come round. There's a tightly packed set here coming round the buoy next. Let's see how they handle this corner. Quite a few really tightly packed crews. There are going to be a lot of clashes here, but nothing too dramatic as they try to make this first corner. This is always going to be the really tricky one for these boats. We've had a couple collide here. France, Italy 7, who have just gone into, that's Mr. Sampierre Dorena, Marco Culo, Mario Vincenzo and Giovanni Clavarino. A little bit stuck there. They've really tangled together and having to push each other apart. That's opened the door for several of the Spanish crews to come through. Spain 5, 6, 7, 5, 7 and 8. So that's through the corner here. We've got Marc-Claude de Lille and Mediterranean de Malaga, Real Club Náutico Granada. So the field's really starting to spring out as they start to make their way up to the second buoy, but it's a good clean start. It just shows how making a really rapid start out of the blocks can pay off. France 6 and France 5 leading Great Britain. They've all strode down in their rate of striking now at a much easier pace. See how they hold on to this as they head up towards the second buoy. Carnage there at the first buoy, James. What did you make of that?
Well, it was great to see that the first three teams had so much space to make a nice clean rounding themselves, and that's the advantage of getting clear in that first leg. But afterwards, it was interesting to see how tangled up a couple of the teams did get and how many places they lost running back. And you know, it's a game of risk there, isn't it? As to how tight you cut it and how much risk you take that if you do get tangled, or do you do those extra couple of meters and give yourself clear space. And you know, the teams that win in that equation have really won good and now making great progress through the rest of the fleet.
That's exactly it. If you just have the slightest of tangles, you can lose 5, 6, 7 places. But the field's really spread out, not only lengthwise now in terms of first to last, but also widthwise. We've got a very wide herd or flotilla of doubles making their way up to the second buoy. It's a long stretch here to get up towards the second buoy, about 1.1 kilometers. So they'll be thinking about how they pace themselves now for this 4K round 1. There's 12 places through to the next round. The last 5 will be eliminated. So this really is a race to not be in the bottom 5 out of this 17-boat race. It's going to be absolutely crucial to stay ahead of that trailing group. There's quite a tightly knit pack in the middle here. We're looking at Arklow Rowing Club here, who are currently riding in 9th place behind Germany. Germany look like quite a powerful combination here. From Ruder Club Alemannia, Schwarmer and Belch. But Ireland's Arklow Rowing Club just starting to move through them here. I think they've really settled into the rhythm as they've turned the corner and moving up to buoy 2. Just slightly handling that headwind ever so slightly better than Germany. Little flotilla of Spanish boats trailing behind the French here, with Italy nestled right in the middle. So we've got currently in 4th place. We've got the Real Club Nautico Torrevieja. They're perhaps 8 lengths down on that battle for the front, which is still being held by Chambéry Club Nautique ahead of Saint-Malo. Field's rather spread out here, but what did you make of the sort of the conditions as they come into? It's a bit of a headwind they're facing into now, so some of the heavier crews might fare better there, James.
Yeah, I'd say so, and especially, you know, we've got a really nice long rolling swell that's coming in from the northwest that, you know, doesn't look like much, but when you're that low down to the water, it can make a real difference as to seeing where all the rest of the teams are and, you know, how the boat performs. Down to the first mark, you've got a little bit gusty as they cleared the end of the breakwater into more exposed water, but now we seem to have a fairly steady wind. It's probably just after the beam on the boat.
Yeah, so you can see on the big screen and on your monitors at home, of course, the boats now going to the far leg, to the furthest turning point there, the yellow buoy in the background. So let's see who gets there first.
Paulo, já temos 2 e 3.
Já temos 2 e 3, ok, boa. Já temos o 2 e o 3.
Yeah, so the crews are now on the far end of the course, and everyone's struggling a little bit here, getting the pictures and the radio transmission in.
A bateria não foi, não trouxeste.
But you can see there's quite a swell out there, not too high waves though, but a nice swell.
Altura em que estamos no ponto de viragem deste percurso, a liderar a dupla francesa de Chambéry, Vincent-Cavard e Yvan Bouvet, e depois em segundo a de Saint-Malo com Clément Thomas e Yannick Baudelot. São estas as duas primeiras embarcações, vão bem destacadas da embarcação da Alemanha, número 3.
Here they are, beautiful drone shots from our Portuguese TV colleagues. Feel very much spread out now. So these are some replays from the first turning point, where we had some troubles there with some boats who took a very tight turn. All good now. The boats are now back on their way to the fortress along the beach. And let's try again with James and Peter.
Sebastian, well, we're round buoy 2, the leaders at least, making their way inland now or inshore now towards buoy 3. Tricky navigation. They might, in fact, they look slightly. No, that's perfect navigation. In fact, the leaders are heading in a direct line towards buoy 3. We look towards the back of the pack though, and the field really is strung out. So it's going to be interesting to see how these crews, who have now nearly all rounded buoy 2, navigate towards buoy 3. It's tricky to tell precisely who's in the danger seat, because the field's still very, very packed out between places 11 through 17. So the race really is on for those few positions to go through to round 2. Well into their race pace now, though.
Yeah, watching the first 3 boats, it looks like there was a little bit of a navigational error with France 5 up at the front. I think they were heading for buoy 4, and they've now made a fairly sharp turn back up towards buoy 3, coming perpendicular in towards the beach. But they had pulled out such a lead that they've had the space to make that mistake, really, and claw it back without risking losing a place. They're still looking in a very, very good place with a lot of water between them and the next boat. The mid-fleet a little more bunched together, and then we're strung out right until the last boat, a few hundred metres back. So it's a real mix out there. Probably the advantage for the rest of the fleet in the first boat maybe have going towards the last mark and making such a correction is that they all know exactly where they need to go. So that they can definitively follow that boat and know that they're absolutely heading for the right turning mark now. And that will make the navigation so much easier for having had the first boat on the mark and round it, and everybody else then knows that they're heading in exactly the right direction. It can be a bit confusing because we've got Mark 3 and 4 quite close together, and a little hard to pick out against the sandy beach and the backdrop of the fort here. Up in this corner by the beach, the breeze seems to have picked up a little bit here, probably just as it's accelerating down the bay, and that will make it a little bit more interesting for the boats, just in terms of maintaining a really even stroke and trying to keep the power in both blades as they hit the water at the same time. One of the things when the boat's moving so much across the wind and the swell like this is just trying to maintain that balance and consistent pace, but everybody seems to be doing a great job, and I can't really see anyone struggling out here.
So as we come up towards the main group of these crews rowing around buoy 3, it's the crew from Portugal, Villa Condense, who are in the danger zone at the moment. They're currently in 13th place. It's the first 12 that are going to progress through, and they are just out of contention for a place through to the next round. So it's going to be very, very tough to close in. They've got perhaps 3 lengths they need to close in on their friends from Portugal as well, where we've got Portugal 7 from Barreirense, who are currently in 12th position and riding 4 lengths behind 11th. So there's only 3 to 4 lengths to close down for this crew from Villa Condense if they want to make their way through. But as the crews have passed, the leading crews have passed around buoy 3. They're coming up to buoy 4 now. We'll be able to tell just the exact margins are as they round this buoy and start to make their way around the Fort de São Julio de Barra and back into the finish line. So currently out in front, still leading the way here, Chambéry Club Nautique, Vincent Cavard and Ivan Beauvais. Beauvais we saw racing in the beach sprints just last weekend. Excellent performance from him in the men's solo. Didn't make it through to the final rounds, but he's certainly looking set here, leading this field in the men's double. A slight navigational error here again though, taking their way directly towards buoy 6, so they're having to make a sharp corner in towards buoy 5, where they'll have to spin almost on a dime to make their way back out to buoy 6. Great Britain hot on their heels. That's where we've got Bexhill and Deal Rowing Club's Mark Mitchell and William Dennis, now having pulled ahead of Saint-Malo's Clément Thomas and Yannick Boulero. Let's see who's coming in for 4th place then as they round buoy 4. Spain 8 coming in here. Real Club Náutico Torreviejas, Miguel Ortuna Moreno and Miguel Hernandez on Teniente. A great little chicane that they've got to go through here between buoys 4, 5 and 6. Nobody's going to touch Cavard and Beauvais though, James. This is a great race from them. They've got an ocean of clear water ahead of the Brits, who are still just clinging on in front of Saint-Malo.
No, and I think it goes to show what a lead they really did have, that 2 fairly large navigational errors could both be brought back, and they still have so much space behind them until the next boat. I mean, that shows on that long straight they did between the first and second mark really how much of a lead they pulled out. looked a little bit more exciting there with the mid-fleet coming around the fourth turning mark. I think there may have been a couple of clashes of blades there, but nothing like we saw at the first mark. You know, the advantage of now everyone having spaced out that little bit more.
So going around buoy 5 now, Santo Stefano Almares, Andrea Vincenzi and Michele Cicconetti ahead of Spain 7, where we've got Real Club Nautico Gandia. So these are places 5 and 6, and then in 7th place we've got the other Spanish boat where we've got Mediterranean de Malaga. Tightly packed group here, a little bit of clashing going on as they try to make their way around buoy 5. Some of the leaders already passing buoy 7, where they'll be starting to make their way into the finish line, and these leaders will be looking pretty hot for those few places through to round 2. This battle for 12th place though, Barreirense still in the danger zone though, trying to close in on Villa Condense. That's the line between progression through to round 2 or being eliminated from round 1, because you can only take 60 boats into round 2, where we'll have 3 rounds of 20 competing for places into the A final, the medal final for these coastal championships here in Oeiras.
Got quite choppy conditions in the corner here by the fort as well. We've got the swell bouncing off, making quite spectacular spray coming off the fort, and then some of that's bouncing back into the immediate vicinity of the water, meaning it's quite a confused sea state. So probably with the wind coming around here as well, the most challenging of the rowing conditions they're going to get on this race, but we'll have to see how all those conditions obviously develop throughout the day. But once they're round turning point 7, then they're going to come into the relative shelter of the bay, and hopefully have no weather slowing them up at all, and it's just going to be that push for the finish line.
So the leading crews just crossing the line there. That's a win then to Chambéry Club Nautique, Vincent Cavard and Ivan Beauvais as they cross the starting line, I beg your pardon. They'll be making their way onto the beach to trot their way up the beach and into the finish funnel to conclude the race. I didn't see anything out there that made it look like there might be any penalties for any of these crews, so it looks like a clean race from start to finish. We know that the format has made some changes to ensure that any penalties are exercised during the race. So if a crew during a beach finish has incurred a penalty, they'll be going into a penalty box before their runner is allowed up to the finish line. But making his way up already, Ivan Beauvais and Vincent Cavard.
Yeah, so here they come into the beach. France 5 from Chambéry. Vincent Cavard is dashing in here and is through the finish. And they come in one by one now. Next one to come is Great Britain 5. That's Bexel and Deal Rowing Club. Mark Mitchell running to the beach. William Dennis, his stroke. Mark Mitchell crossing the arc here in Oeiras, Portugal. Second place for GB team GBR 5. And the boat handlers are very quick here, together with the teammates of the rowers, to get the boats out of the way for the next cruise coming in. Quite a gap opened up here. So there you have it on screen. First 3 crews in. France 6 also through. So next one is Spain 5, also into the beach now. Spain 5. Demarclo, Lilo e Capello. So they came in 4th place, and here coming to the beach. It's another boat from Spain, it's Spain 7, Real Club Nautico Gandia. Yeah, Italy 6 is also in the finish. Spain 5 and 6 in Italy 7 coming in as well. So now they come in thick and fast. Ireland crossing the line. Ireland 5, that is 2 minutes behind the leading boat. Yeah, so waiting for the next cruise. Beautiful beach finishes here. The bowman jumping out of the boat and then running through the finish arc here. Oeiras Valley, one of our partners here, has set this up from the Municipio de Oeiras. So next cruise coming in on the beach. Just a look over the shoulder there. Here comes Portugal.
Está então Portugal a chegar, a embarcação número 7 de Portugal, com o barreirense para a 11ª posição.
Yeah, strong finish here again from Portugal, Romão.
E o Vila Condense com o Rodrigo Romão a chegar para a 12ª posição.
Yeah, all the supporters, of course, also the teammates from other boats have made their way here to the beach to support the crews that come in to the finish after the 4 kilometers race that they have done out there on the waters of, close to Lisbon, close to Lisbon. Another Portuguese boat coming in, Portugal 8, hitting the beach soon.
Vila Condense com o Guilherme Maia e o Tomás Ribeiro a chegar, a embarcação número 8, Portugal.
Yeah, not too easy. The waves push the bow of the boat around once the stern of the boat once the bow has hit the beach. So here we are, good clean finish, and again immediately the boat handlers are there. What a great job they have done over this week from last week already, where we had the World Rowing Beach Sprint finals here. But also during these days in preparation of the World Rowing Coastals. Here comes another boat. Oh, that's quite a tricky landing there for. It's just the boat number on the boat. I can't see the country code, but it seems to be another Portuguese boat. Barreto is the name on the rowing uni. Yeah, here you have an overview, if you watch out there on worldrowing.com, of this beautiful beach, of the starting line. You can see the singles already lined up there for the second race of this morning. Yeah, so all crews seem to be safely in. Fantastic race. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a big round of applause here for all the athletes that have competed this morning already. Thank you.
Forte aplauso então para as embarcações que competiram neste primeiro hit, com o barreirense a levar a melhor entre as embarcações portuguesas na 11ª posição. Vamos para o hit número 2.
So here we have again on the screen the finishing order. So that was the round 1, heat 1 of the coastal men's double, and we move on shortly to the coastal men's solo, round 1, heat 1. We'll be back with you in a little while.
Estamos prontos para a próxima saída. And we're now ready for the solo man. 20 boats aligned. We have Spain number 5, Real Club Náutico de Tarragona. With Spain number 6, Club Esportiu Olímpic de Barcelona. With Spain number 7, Club de Remo Algeciras. Spain number 8, Real Club Náutico de Torrevieja. With France number 5, Bordeaux. With France number 7, Saint-Jean-de-Luz, Oeiras. Great Britain, Fishguard and Godwick Gemina Rowing Club. Great Britain number 6, Fishguard also and Godwick Gemina Rowing Club. Great Britain number 7, Putney Town Rowing Club. With Great Britain number 8, Newark Rowing Club. Great Britain number 9, Fishguard Godwick Gemina Rowing Club. With Japan number 5, Kumamoto Rowing Club. De Portugal com o número 10, o Ferroviário. Com o número 11, individual, o Pedro Reis. Com o número 12, o Setubalense. Portugal número 13, também do Setubalense. Portugal 15, Vila Condense. Portugal 6 é do Caminhense. Com Portugal 8, o Vila Condense. E a fechar a embarcação de Portugal 9 com o Setubalense, com Miguel Mendes. São estas as 20 embarcações. These are the 20 boats aligned for the men's solo, heat number 1.
So the 2 balls remaining indicate less than 2 minutes. In fact, it's 1.5 minutes to the start now. And everyone's really excited here. We had the men's double just a moment ago and now head directly into the next heat here for the men's solo. 20 boats competing.
É este.
Yeah, so that was start for the men's solo, and let's pass on the word to our commentators on the boat, James and Peter. What's it like out there on the water now?
Thanks, Sebastian. It's a bit of a car crash of a start for one of the athletes here. It's a red flag, so they're going to be called back in. The umpire's boat causing an issue there for France 5's Michael Hitier of Bordeaux. So all of the boats are going to be called back in. The umpire's waving his red flag, but it's tough to see if you're already out there and racing. So quite a lot of these athletes are still racing towards buoy 1, and so they're going to have to be notified too sweet to make their way back in, because it's a tough progression system. There's just 8 going through from this field of 77 competitors. So red flag up, they'll be calling all of these boats back to restart.
Yeah, so this was a false start, or not effective start. Just a reminder for all the crews that have raced, please help together with the boat handlers to get your boats from the landing position as quickly as possible. But it's also the task of the crews that have raced to get their boats back to the assigned stations. Thank you. Yeah, so for of you watching online on worldrowing.com, welcome back. We had a false start just a moment ago in the men's solo heat, so but some of the boats are already 300-400 meters out on this beautiful stretch where the river and the ocean meet, and so they need to come back, which might take a few minutes until they are in position to be restarted again. So bear with us and just enjoy the great pictures from our Portuguese colleagues on your screen wherever you're watching.
Situation they'll find themselves in now, because
So guys, this was a 40 start, so no penalties or anything were awarded. That's good to hear for all the rowers heading back towards the beach. But what will be going through their heads now? Let's ask James and Peter. You're on the boat. You saw them starting. What do you think their condition is right now?
well, it was a bit of a confused start there. There were several boats that were beyond the start line. Now that would, I believe, naturally incur a penalty if they were beyond the start line. So they might be thinking again, because several of them might not know what happened, what caused the restart. So they might believe that there were too many people across the start line and be thinking now about getting a little bit further behind the start line for this start, which is really tricky though in these solos, because the sterns of these solos are so low to the water that when you try to back it down or reverse, i.e. go backwards, that you take on water. They dig into the water. So the only real way to go backwards is to spin, row a couple of strokes backwards and turn around again, which is not ideal when you're just lining up and there's less than a minute to go before your start. So positioning is absolutely critical on this start line. But then, James, this wind is making that really hard.
Yeah, it is, and I think what's made it really hard with the wind right now, just to rub salt in the wound of the leaders that had made a clean and good start off the line, is that they've then had to row all the way back into what's now turned into was a stronger headwind for them. So, you know, they'll have been burning through energy just trying to get back to the start line. And, you know, that's a really unfortunate situation to be in for those that did make a great clean start. And now it has come round, it's blowing them almost straight across the line, means it will be much harder to hold the position. As you say, as soon as you start to go backwards in these boats, you scoop water in through the stern, and so trying to hold that position is a really, really tricky thing. And it's hard to tell when you've got another 19 boats all having the same issue, really, as to whether you are too far ahead or not. It's not always clear when you're down here on the water.
Exactly, and they'll be looking, as you say, James, for that clean start to try and get up to buoy number one so they can round it quickly and then have a clean run down the longer straight towards buoy two. So a couple of these solos have already drifted it well out in front of the start line. We'll have to see whether how far away we are from the starting sequence, but it'll be absolutely crucial that they don't all bunch up too much at one end and end up with exactly what they're trying to avoid, which is a load of clashing. So there are a couple of athletes just hanging a little bit further back, almost getting close to the breakers, just trying to keep themselves out of trouble and make sure that they can have a clean run at the start. They were so immaculately lined up for the first attempt at this. On the near side here, to lane 20, the lane 20 end of the starting line, Daniel Salvador Garcia from Club de Remo Algeciras had a very, very good start, but he's back, probably doing the most sensible thing here. He's really keeping himself out of the bunch that is forming on the marina side of the start line. One of the athletes, the one who had had a little bit of trouble with the umpire's launch, is drifted back in towards the beach. Perhaps we'll see him turn back around once we see the starting boys go back up on the stand, on the mast, which will signify that we're back towards 3 minutes before the restart of this round 1 race for the Coastal Men's Solo. As I said before, it's a big field, 77 athletes taking part. We need to take that down to 60 for round 2, which means that in this case, we have a lineup of 17 athletes looking to compete for 8 places through to the next round. So tough competition and a tough progression system.
I think that is finally all of the rowers reassembled back on the start line though, which means that we'll just be waiting for the decision on exactly when to restart. This wind that had so unfortunately gusted up to give them all a hard row back seems to be easing a bit, but now they're probably all on the upwind bit. They don't want it to ease off too much because it's going to give them a really good boost and a downwind fly to that first mark, so hopefully they'll keep that for as long as possible, and we'll make it for another really exciting start when they are going again.
So new start time is 10:45. We will see the red balls up on our mast here on the beach pretty soon. Just for you at home also listening in to know, 10:45 we will hear the second version of the start. Again, it was a 40 start, so not a false start, so no penalties were awarded to any rower on the water, and they ready themselves again for another try to compete over this beautiful 4 kilometers course today. For the finals, it will be 6 kilometers, so a little bit more to row here, but for heats, it's always at the coastals. The 13th edition, by the way, of the World Rowing Coastal Championships, already 13th edition in this beautiful spot. So races will be underway in about 5 minutes.
Daqui a 7 minutos retomamos a partida deste hito número 1 dos equipes masculinos. Lembro que esta é a 13ª edição deste Campeonato do Mundo de Remo de Mar, a visitar pela primeira vez Portugal. Sem penalizações para esta partida, portanto, estamos tranquilos para esta saída daqui a sensivelmente 5 minutos para este número 1, num percurso de 4 km. Depois, quando passarmos para a fase seguinte dos quartos finais, já passamos a um percurso de 6 km, mais 2 km a remar aqui.
So under 3 minutes now to the start, to the second edition of our start here, of the Coastal Men's Solo Heat 1 in round 1. Fantastic to look out to the sea, beautiful sunshine here in Oeiras, about 21 degrees Celsius, a nice breeze cooling us down. Out there it's quite a swell, so we've seen that on the pictures just a moment ago with the double. Now we have the men's solo about to get underway in just over 2 minutes. So, just a minute until we see the crews from Spain, France, Great Britain, Portugal and Japan underway in this heat. So, the starter is going to be, starter's going to be giving the signal pretty soon.
Aguardamos então o alinhamento das equipas de Portugal e Japão. Passa para se alinharem à saída.
Yes, so this was the starting signal for Heat 1 in round 1 for the men's solo. All boats now again underway on this first leg with the wind and I think also the current, but I think we have better experts to tell us about currents there in the boat. Let's have it again from James Scott and Peter O'Hanlon, please.
Thanks, Sebastian. Well, we are underway cleanly now and looking to make a good start here. Miguel Mendes for Setubalense of Portugal had a great start on the near side, rocketing out ahead of Pedro Pires from Vilacondense, Portugal, the 64-year-old here competing at the World Rowing Coastal Championships. A great start for him, but already at the back of the pack, so it'll be a challenge for him to get into contention for one of the 8 places into the next round. But it's a widely spread out bunch of athletes here in the solo, making their way towards the first buoy, just under a kilometre away into the sun. So it'll be really challenging for them to get that navigation right. Spotting that buoy when you peek over your shoulder is not easy. They'll be just looking to get themselves set up with a good race rhythm and see if they can't upset others by getting out into one of those early leading points. Looking here to Spain 7, Daniel Salvador Garcia, he's up currently in 5th place, but out in front it really is a great start for Spain 5. Marc Franquet-Montfort 4 currently in 3rd place behind Victor Alberto Ferreira Bermudez, who's currently in 2nd. So a really, really good start here.
I think a couple of boats almost taken unawares on the start line. You saw a few people struggle to really get across the line straight. Right up until the last moment, they were jostling to try and keep the position and not have any false starts. And I think that shows that even after all of that prep, how difficult it really was in those conditions to maintain and hold a position. But now they're all off. We've got everybody fairly spread out, and you know, Spain 5 and Spain 6 right up the front, and a whole mix of the fleet behind. With this wind picked up, it's a little choppier than it was before, and as Pete said, it's going to make spotting this mark that's right into the sunshine all the harder. Trying to pick out a yellow buoy against the sun with this much reflection on the water is difficult for us in a rib, so to be doing it over your shoulder is going to be a real challenge. And they all seem to be holding a really nice line so far.
Well, starting to make his presence felt at the front of the field, Lionel Picard for France's Saint-Jean-de-Luz-Oeiras is currently leading, and it's a great start from him as they start to converge in towards the first turning point. He's currently leading ahead of Marc-Franquet Montfort for Spain's Real Club Nautique de Tarragon and Victor Alberto Ferreira Bermudez of Club Esportiu Olympique Barcelona. That's the 1, 2, 3 at the front of the pack at the moment. And as they start to slot in behind each other, progressing towards this first buoy, we'll start to get a real eye on who's trailing in behind them in those crucial 8 places into the next round. Tough to spot who it is because the waves being so choppy, bow numbers and identification on the side of every boat, particularly with the sun here, makes it very, very tricky to actually see who's out in front, which means that they're dealing with the same issues as we are, because they've got to try and spot these buoys and then cleanly navigate around them. Lionel Picard about to make the first corner. He's ahead of, as I've said before, Franquet Montfort and Ferreira Bermudez in second and third, and then currently in fourth place for Spain A, Real Club Nautique de Torrevieja, we have Francisco Jose Pinanza Iniesta. That's the 1, 2, 3, 4 as they round the first turning point.
What a fantastic clean rounding for the first 4 boats, almost a procession of boats, just a couple of metres between their bows and sterns. A lot less of a spacing than we saw on the first race, but nonetheless goes to show the advantage of getting clear in that first bit, and you just buy yourself space. I think we're looking for potentially a couple of conflicts as we come in, with Great Britain 9, and on the inside of the mark just being pushed down a little bit, but nowhere near the amount of clash that we saw on the first race, so a lot more spaced out.
Coming in for 5th place then here for Portugal 6, Pedro Moquizinho from Caminhense. That's 5th place. Let's have a check-in for who's currently in 6th. It's another of the Portuguese boats. I believe that's Igor Carneiro. And then Spain 7 next, where we've got Daniel Salvador Garcia. And then in the crucial 8th place, we've got Portugal 9, where we can see Miguel Mendez. After such a great start, he seems to have dropped off a little bit, and he's under a lot of pressure because moving up, we have Michael Hittier of France. Michael Hittier is the one who had a little run-in with the umpire's launch. He seems to be rowing well now, but he's the one in the danger seat. He's currently riding in 9th, so out of position to progress through to the next round, unless he can row through and take a place from Miguel Mendez of Setubalense.
Back towards the back of the fleet, we've got a couple almost completely stationary at that first turning mark. They've obviously had an entanglement that stopped them both dead in their tracks, and still trying to get the blades free from each other and get into their own bit of water. They're just getting going again, and I think after them we've just had the last boat round the mark, so everybody's now on this second straight. We're going to have a bit of tide behind us now. The tide's flowing out the river, and splash and spray than there was before, which is making it much more exciting rowing conditions for everybody.
It really is. So in 9th place, we've got Michael Hittier, and then in 10th place, we've got Jake Thompson from Fishguard Gooding Jemima Rowing Club, just leading ahead of Great Britain 9, where we've got Che Owen also from Fishguard Gooding Jemima. So these two athletes will be friends, they'll know each other, and they might even be able to give each other a little bit of confidence to push through and try and move up the field. They can also look back and see Craig Murley from Fishguard Gooding Jemima Club as well, currently in 11th place. So these are the trailing field who are just outside of a position through to round 2, but certainly not out of a chance though, because they're perhaps 50 meters down on that 8th place crucial position currently held by the Portuguese athlete, Miguel Mendes. He's trying to move up and fend off Michael Hittier, and in doing so, the field really is packing down slightly. It's tough to tell just what, in fact, he's putting on a bit of a burst here. Let's see how quickly he's moving up through the field. He's sensing that pressure from Mick. That was enough to push through and widen the gap ahead of Michael Hittier to perhaps 4 lengths now. It was closing, it was down to about 2 lengths. Hittier won't know precisely which position he's in just yet. It's really tough to tell. He'll be trying to count the athletes behind him and know that he's in the danger seat, but he won't know for sure. So it really is tough. Not only are they now navigating the greater swells as they head up towards buoy 2, and slightly more challenging conditions compared to their race out to buoy 1, but this is where they'll be jostling for the top 8. Field really spread out now over 500 meters here from first to last.
We've also got quite a spread in terms of width as well. Some haven't gone quite wide, which means that it's not just a front to back. It's a real spread across the width of the fleet as well. With the wind directly on the side for this leg, on the second leg, it means that some will have chosen to go much wider and just let the wind naturally bring them down onto the mark, and some will be opting to make smaller adjustments as they go. But obviously with the smaller adjustments, it's going to be much more looking over their shoulders. But it means that it's going to be hard to tell actually who is ahead until we're all round the second mark. And again, it could make for an exciting rounding as they all come down and converge on that 1 point.
For 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th places in this first round for the Coastal Men solo. Still holding on to 9th to 8th place though. Miguel Mendes for Sechabalense, but we're going to move up to buoy 2 now as the leaders start to approach it, and we'll be able to tell then who's going to make that second buoy around first. This is basically the halfway point in this 4K course. They've done around 2K as they approach this buoy, and they'll then have to navigate back in and spot, and it's difficult to see yellow buoy with a beach background to spot the correct one as they head back in towards the shore and the Carcavelos beach next to the Port de São Julio de Barra here in Oeiras, Portugal.
Well, when you say they've done 2K, some of them will have rode almost 4K by now after that false start. The whole K almost up to the first mark and then back in again up to the wind. So there's going to be some sore arms and legs out there, especially for that first kilometre when they would have all been pushing hard, and then to have to come back through that. The first 3 are so tight though, you feel that anything's up for grabs within that first 3 or even 4 boats around the mark now.
Well, Marc Franque Montfort for Spain 5, Real Club Nautico de Tarragona has moved up through Lino Picard, who's now moved down into 2nd place. So that's the 1-2, and then we've got Victor Alberto Ferreira Bermudez of Club Esporte Olympic Barcelona, currently in 3rd place. It's a great start for these athletes. Clean is so important. If you can invest that energy and put out a fast start, then you can put in the rest of your race with a pretty clean effort and move through and focus on your own race strategy and not worry about others interrupting what you're working on. So that's the first 4 boats round buoy 2, currently riding in 4th place. We have Francesco Jose Pinanza Iniesta of the Real Club Náutico Torrevieja. Feels very, very spread out now. First 12 progressing through to the next round. And it looks like this leading group are pretty safe here because the gap between 12th to 13th has opened up to around 200 to 250 meters, separating 12th from 13th.
I mean, the first 4 boats here are really rowing their own race, aren't they? They've got such an amount of space between the 4 of them, and then until the 5th boat as well. It means, as you say, they've settled into their strategy. They can really take the time to focus on the navigation without being under pressure from a boat behind them, potentially overtaking. And I imagine that means we'll probably see less of the areas we saw in the last race and people making a first mark, first time.
Exactly right. These leaders have really eased off. They're down to 26 strokes a minute, so well off the race pace and rhythm that we're seeing from some of the crews that are in slightly more of a dangerous position in the middle of the pack. They'll be thinking about conserving their energy and not wanting to burn themselves out today. They'll have more racing to come as the championships progresses. What do you make of this? Now that they've made this corner, James, they'll be looking forward to slightly less challenging water as they go in towards shore slightly.
Yeah, I think so. They're going to have a lot less of the swell on the bow, which means the boat's going to be pitching less than before. And with such a gentle rolling swell, which is what we've got, particularly on the first half of this leg, it's going to make it a lot more manageable conditions just to drop into a rhythm and be able to focus on pacing themselves in their stroke without trying to deal with managing the way the boat's moving so much. I do think, though, that once we get around the 4th mark and in, like we saw before, it does get a bit choppier as the wind and the tide will be running hard around this point, and that will make things more exciting. But hopefully they'll all have saved a lot of energy now, being able to settle down for this leg with a nice spread, particularly in the first 4, and they'll have enough to get through all those more challenging conditions in a bit.
Yeah, they'll be feeling that those nerves can ease slightly after the start. Once they know they're out in front and they can really settle into their endurance pace. Better navigation here, considering they're in singles. We saw quite a few going off-piste slightly when it came to the doubles just within the last hour. But out in front, expert navigation from Marc Franquet Montfort of Spain's Real Club Náutico de Tarragona, leading beautifully ahead of the rest of the field.
I think we've still got 3 boats to come around that last mark on Mark 3, so almost there. We've got the penultimate 2 going around now, and then a little gap until the one behind, and then that's going to be all the boats at the same time on this final leg.
And most of this little flotilla from Fishguard, Goodwick and Jemima Rowing Club, Craig Murley, Jake Thompson, Matthew Gill and Che Owen seem to be in a safe place here within the top 12 to progress through to round 2. Currently in 12th place though, Craig Murley, he'll be able to look back and spot those that are in 13th position if he knows that he's 12th. He'll have counted all of the athletes on the start. We were expecting 17, but I think we didn't quite have the full squad lineup. Medical withdrawals likely, and so he'll be counting those boats that he can see behind him and working out his own position. And he can see that he's got a good clear water margin here. It's perhaps 200 meters separating him from 13th place as he's about to row through his friend also from Fishguard, Goodwick and Jemima Rowing Club, Craig Murley. So a nice little battle for 11th and 12th.
I think that's the first of the Spanish boats around the next mark, and on a much shorter leg through to the 4th mark now. And the last 2, both with a little bit closer gap now, but enough space not to have a clash there, I don't think. And they're just making the turn now. So much nicer to be able to make the roundings of these marks without the pressure of another boat pushing you down or pushing you up. Means you can focus on making it a clean turn, keeping the speed up, and not worry about any entanglements with any other rowers. As we approach this corner ourselves, the wind's picked up in here, which will be making it more challenging for them, just throwing a little bit more spray off the tops of this swell, which makes it all the harder for everybody to be able to see who's behind them and the marks that are ahead of them. And now they're going to be rowing straight into the sunshine as well, which again, on some of these marks, could well make the navigation that little bit harder. So these front boats will be really appreciating having the space to take their time, pick their line, and just focus on making sure they're going in the right direction. Not a single bit of effort's wasted.
So coming round, buoy 4, Mark Franquemont 4, still leading. Same mistake as with the men's doubles in the previous race, comes careering around buoy 4, takes a few strokes and then realizes he's got to go in towards shore to make it the correct side of buoy 5. Hot on his heels though, Lionel Picard. Currently in second place, we've then got Victor Abad. Currently in fourth place, though, we have Francisco Pizana Iniesta. That's the leading four. No change here. They're down there at 26 strokes a minute, just as though they're out for a training cruise on the water. No need to overstress the system. They'll be thinking about conserving energy for racing the rest of this weekend.
You can see how challenging some of the mid-fleet have found this leg between buoy 3 and buoy 4. They've gone very, very wide. Now the wind's picked up in this corner. They maybe just weren't tuned in to compensate for that. And some of them, 30, 40 meters wide of this mark, which is going to be essentially extra kilometers road or meters road by the time they come back up towards Mark 5 and round again. You can see they're making almost perpendicular turns to have to do that.
And as they do this, they'll be learning quite a lot through the process, learning quite a lot about the movement of the currents. The tide on its way out at the moment, so they'll be thinking about how that affects the currents, but it's tough to tell when you're out there navigating in real time and also going through the pain of being in the 4th kilometre of a 4K race. A lot of variables to try to blend together. You've got the wind, the current, the chop, your opponents, navigation. It really does take an awful lot of skill to balance all of those things and put in your best performance possible.
And especially with the delays to this particular race as well, that would have meant that any strategies they'd studied hard in terms of exactly where they wanted to be at certain points and what the movement of the water was going to be doing will all be out by half an hour because of the first delay, and then almost another 30 minutes because of the second delay. And an hour, after high water, the water will be moving very differently now, and that will be affecting some of their lines that they might have thought in their minds that they'll take. You can see that in this corner in front of us, it's got a lot more confused as a sea state, and again, that makes the real-time navigation that much harder for them. And I think that's probably why we've seen so many errors here in terms of people heading for the wrong marks. It's just so difficult to be looking over your shoulder and actually see what's ahead of you. When you're in the trough of any of these swell and waves, and you're so low down to the water anyway, it's really, really hard to be able to pick things out on the horizon.
So coming in 5th place at the moment, just rounding buoy 6, we've got Pedro Mocazinho from Caminhense, Portugal, just leading ahead of Daniel Salvador Garcia for Club de Remo Algeciras. So that's the front 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10 looking closely packed now. Just moving up between buoys 5 and 6, they'll be thinking about home, knowing as they see the Fort de San Julio de Barra that they just have this final stage to row around the fort before coming into the beach for their beach finish. France 5 coming in next, that's Michael Hitier. He's done well to move up the pack. There was a period when he was in the danger seat. No longer. He's been gradually moving up the field, a very consistent strategy here as he pulls up, continuing to lead ahead of Igor Carneiro for Ferroviario of Portugal, and then we've got Miguel Mendes for Sete Valenche now coming up to buoy 6, just a little bit ahead of Jake Thompson of Fishguard, Goodwick and Jemima Rowing Club in the southwest corner of Wales.
everybody's managed to pull themselves out a really nice bit of space, a good boat length between most boats in the mid-fleet now, which means they are all able to take these corners and take these turns without too much pressure, too much challenge, and just focus on their own race. It'll be interesting to see if anyone manages to close those gaps up to make the beach finish that little bit more exciting though. You know, boats finishing in the surf at the same time, trying to dismount and get up the beach. That's going to make a really good spectacle if anybody does manage to close the gaps.
That's right, and the leaders will be fast approaching the beach now. How's it looking, Sebastian?
It's looking great, and thanks for the commentary from out on the water. First boat to come in is the Spanish leader of this race, Marc Franque Mofor from Real Club Nautic de Tarragona. Hitting the beach now, and a very relaxed style of exiting the boats here, no pressure on him, and here are the boat handlers very quick to remove the boat from the zone. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a big round of applause here from the banks of the bay here. It's then France coming in next. A little sprint here to the beach from Picard. Lionel Picard now crossing the line, closely followed by Ferreira from Spain. Vitor Alberto Ferreira Bermudez. Yeah, so 3 boats already in, more to come up in a few seconds. Quite spread out, this solo event. So Ignacio, who's the next to come up on the beach? Looks like Spain 8.
Yeah, Spain 8 de España, Clube Esportivo Olímpico de Barcelona. No, Real Club Náutico de Terra Vieja, Spain 8 con José Pinzana Iniesta.
Coming to the finish line, Pizarro of Spain.
And it goes for the 4th position de Spain. 4ª posição para o espanhol Francisco José Pinzana Iniesta, do Real Clube Náutico de Torre Vieja. Também de Espanha, o primeiro foi do Real Clube Náutico de Tarragona, Marco Montfort.
Strong show here of the Spanish Daniel Salvador Garcia for Club de Remo Algeciras.
E chega o motor do Caminhense, Pedro Metosinho.
So we haven't found our top 12 yet. Still more boats to come in with a chance of qualifying for the next round. Next one up is France 5, that's from Bordeaux, Michael Itier. Santos for Portugal coming in. Which club is that? Vila Condense. Diogo Santos was just crossing the line a moment ago.
Diogo Santos do Vila Condense também a chegar.
And we've also seen Jake Thompson for Fishguard and Godwick Jamina Rowing Club from Great Britain, 6th, ranked number 9, so also within the qualification for the next round. So the next 2 will be the last ones to qualify for round 2. And I think here on the beach we should welcome all the rowers coming in with a big round of applause because they've braved the waves, they've braved the 4K course. Next one coming in, Great Britain 9. It's again another member of Fishguard and Godwick Jamina Rowing Club. It's Owen Sheep. What a sprint, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have a big hand here for Owen from Great Britain.
Estes são os últimos a classificar-se, falta apenas um, se estou em erro, pela contagem para a ronda seguinte.
Yeah, beaching a little bit away from the Finnish arc that we have here, Great Britain 5. And that's Craig Murley from Fishguard and Goodwick Jamina Rowing Club. Great row for him.
And Christopher, we have all the qualifiers for the next round arriving here, correct? Ao público que está na praia, é neste momento da chegada que temos que dar força e aplaudir não só os remadores portugueses, mas também aqueles que vieram um pouco de todo lado para esta grande competição de remo de mar aqui em Oeiras.
So here's another one for you, Ignacio. Portugal 13 on the beach, sprinting towards the arch.
É Tomás Seródio do Setubalense.
Come on guys, audience, where are you? Give him a hand going in. Yeah, so for all of you tuning in on worldrowing.com, this is the heat number 1 for the men's solo. We had 17 boats on the water, out of which 12 qualified for the next round. So another Portuguese sculler coming in from Ferroviário, Igor Carneiro.
Igor Carneiro do Ferroviário a chegar neste último esforço para este equipe masculino.
Yeah, so looks we have everyone safely on the beach now. Good to see that. We're going to show results pretty soon on the screen and on the stream. So thank you for watching, everyone. This was the first set of heats, just 2 races this morning, and we continue with the program this afternoon at 2:15 local time. So that's the same as Greenwich time, actually. So come back with us and watch the great pictures on the screen and also out there on your monitors, wherever you have been tuning in on worldrowing.com at 2:15 Portugal time.
Ora, voltamos então às 2:15 para continuarmos com mais competição. É um esforço tremendo que estes remadores fazem durante estes 4 km que estamos a remar agora nos hits. Depois os quartos finais já passa a ser 6 km, ainda vai ser mais duro, quer para os doubles, quer para os skiffs. Já tivemos o primeiro hit de doubles, o primeiro hit de skiff no que diz respeito aos masculinos. Voltamos então às 2:15 para continuarmos com esta 13ª edição dos Campeonatos do Mundo de Remo de Mar, pela primeira vez a visitar Portugal. E aqui a bela praia da Torre em Oeiras.